Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for a very whispery qualifying reaction. Whispery because it's 20 past 5 in the morning. My goodness though, what a qualifying that was. Las Vegas always just finds a way to deliver every time. And I've seen people criticise this track a lot, and I really thought going into this year that we would be past that now, because we've had two races here which have both been very good, but going into this weekend I saw a poll somewhere where people were rating the Las Vegas track and people were rating it negatively. I don't get it. It's a great track. I honestly think, this might be an unpopular opinion here, but it's one of the best tracks that we have on the calendar. And again, it has proven, we haven't even reached the race yet, but what a qualifying session that was. What a chaotic qualifying session that was. We'll get into all that and more in just a little bit. Before we do, remember to like and subscribe. And of course, a huge shout out to our members: Dakota, The Joy of Shane, Ron Myers, Sim Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 986, Philip DeGanzik, Sarah Jowett, Andy Jones, and the Facetious Badger. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description down below. But let's get into Q1. And of course, the rain is coming down, and rather heavily as well. We saw a little bit of rain before FP3, but nothing in comparison to what we had at the start of Q1. It is worthwhile talking about FP3 though, because it was topped by George Russell from Max Verstappen. Both McLaren cars seem to really struggle. They finished that session in 19th and 20th, but the most useful thing from that session is just seeing kind of how the track distributed the rain, because what we saw was a very light part of rain before the session really affected the majority of that practice session. With, because it's so cold, and of course because it's at night, the dry line really took a long time to come through, to about half the session there in FP3. So we can expect the same thing, and we did see the same thing in qualifying. Everyone was starting on the full wets here. Sorry, no, I didn't. That's a lie. A lot of people went for the Inters at the start of this, but it was the Astons and the Saubers that went for the full wets, and it became very obvious very quickly that the full wets were the way to go, which is quite surprising, because as every other race that we've had for, the last 5 years, the wet tyre has been the most useless thing that's ever been created. So to see it actually be used was shocking, and, you know what, in a way, quite fulfilling. Even the wet tyre eventually has its use. So congratulations to the wet tyre. But with 10 minutes to go, Lance Stroll, who was one of the stars of qualifying and eventually would be screwed over by his own team, he was at the top of the session by 6 tenths of a second from Alonso. Then the gap between from first to third at this point was 2.3 seconds. It was Liam Lawson in third here. But then what really happened throughout all these sessions. It's just the further we went into the session, the faster and faster the times got as the track got drier and drier and drier. And you just saw constant times moving about, people shooting up to first, people being pushed down into the drop zone. Behrman was the first to go into 2 minutes, then Gasly took the top spot. There's Charles Leclerc went quite deep at one point. With 5 minutes to go, both Verstappen and Leclerc did not have a lap time on the board in Q1, so that could have been a huge shock for them. Lance Stroll continued to do very well. He retook the top spots, then Sainz took the top spot. Verstappen jumps up to P5, Albon goes to P2. It was a Williams front row at this point. Lando Norris then splits the Williams. Alonso goes P2 as well. Verstappen goes top. Leclerc goes top. It's just mad. Leclerc spent most of the session in the bottom 5. All of a sudden, he's in P1. Behrman hits the wall, but he manages to get away with it, reverses out, and be able to keep on from there. Albon hits the wall, smashes a wheel off his car, but somehow manages to keep the car going and drives back to the pit lane, but he is out from there. Alonso goes top, and then Russell goes top. But as we come to the end of the session, in P20, quite shockingly, is Lewis Hamilton. Only the second Q1 exit for him this year. His first last place in qualifying since Brazil 2017. A very disappointing qualifying for Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari have looked pretty good all weekend up until now. And someone like Lewis Hamilton, who has such a great history of driving in the wet, you'd think he'd be able to pull something out here, but unfortunately it is last place for him here. In 19th is Yuki Tsunoda, making it back-to-back 19th places in qualifying. 18th is Gabriel Bortoleto for his 5th Q1 exit of the year. Sorry, 5th Q1 exit in a row, I should say, for Gabriel Bortoleto. In 17th is Kimi Antonelli, his first Q1 exit since Belgium. Kimi's qualifying hasn't been great this year, but it has taken a massive uptick in recent races. So, first Q1 exit for him in quite some time. Then in 16th place is Alex Albon. After tapping that wall, he has his 4th Q1 exit in just 6 races, and we will see later on. The speed that Williams has, he might be kicking himself a little bit there. He was not happy on the radio whatsoever, saying that people were talking to him too much on the radio during the lap. And, the conditions were so bad, the visibility was so bad. You can understand where it came from. That was possibly the toughest qualifying session we've had all year. I might even just get rid of the word possibly there, because it definitely was. It was really, really rather bad. We go to Q2 now. Everyone's still on the full wet tyres. Conditions, hell of a lot better than they were in Q1. You can see it instantly. It is so much better. Still tough, but a vast improvement on what we saw from Q1. Stroll goes top again. Verstappen takes that back, then Piastri goes top. Lawson goes top briefly. He was fastest by over half a second at this point. Now, this is when Stroll's day goes from hero to zero. The team decided to take quite a big risk with him, move from the full wet tyres to the intermediate tyres. Ultimately, it does not pay off. It takes him a few laps to try and get those tyres in the window. By the time he does, the track isn't really ready for inters yet. If they played it safe, Stroll would have got through to Q3 because he had that pace all weekend. But unfortunately, it did not work out for him. At this point, Hajar goes top, Verstappen goes top, Sainz goes top, Norris goes top. There is the best save of the weekend so far from Colapinto. Huge slide from him, but he saves it and manages to keep going. Then out in Q2 is Colapinto in P15. His joint best qualifying since Hungary for Colapinto there. Behrman is 14th, which ends a 4-race streak for him of appearing in Q3. He's beaten by his teammate Esteban Ocon, which is his second best qualifying since Hungary. He'll start tomorrow's race from 13th. Stroll's intermediate gamble did not pay off. He will start in 12th place. Then in 11th, just missing out on Q3, is Nico Hülkenberg, and it's the third time he started 11th in the last 5 races. Then we go through to Q3, the final part of qualifying, and now all the drivers move across that intermediate tyre. Lance Stroll just missing out on the move by a few minutes, but there we go. You see, that's one of those things where it starts to rain a little bit. Stroll somehow just reaches this other level, and unfortunately they just got it wrong for him there. Hopefully he can recover something in the race tomorrow. We shall wait and see. But yeah, all drivers on the inters just setting consistent lap times. We see in a dry qualifying Q3, we see everyone go out at the start, come back in, go out at the end, and there's only 2 laps. Whereas here, it was just lap after lap after lap, which I think is far more entertaining as it is. But, what we really saw here is what we saw throughout all these qualifying sessions, is it's basically whoever sets a lap last got that best time. And, as the track got drier and drier, it got quicker and quicker. And then at the end, this was our top 10. So Pierre Gasly is in P10, back-to-back Q3s for him, a wonderful result. Then Leclerc in 9th, which I thought was a pretty good, considering his teammate is starting last. But on his record this year, it's his 3rd worst qualifying of the season, which just goes to show how good Leclerc has been this year. Isaac Hajar is 8th, his 5th Q3 in the last 6 races for him. Fernando Alonso has his best qualifying since Hungary in P7. Liam Lawson is 6th, his equal second best qualifying of the year. Oscar Piastri has to settle for P5, his second top 5 qualifying in the last 4 races. George Russell finds himself back in the top 5 for qualifying after starting 6th last time out in Sao Paulo. He starts this race in 4th. Then it's quite a surprise for Carlos Sainz in P3, his second best qualifying of the year after that tremendous front row in Baku. And again, we go to talk about the Williams and how Albon might be kicking himself. There was some pace there, unfortunately. Just not for him after hitting the wall. What also needs to be said as well is that Sainz is under investigation for an unsafe rejoin from Q1, so it could end up in a penalty there, so keep an eye on that one. Also, what I've just seen online before I started recording this is that the Williams team has not submitted their setup forms to the FIA, so that could also play a part in qualifying as well. I don't know what the punishment is for that, but it's the kind of thing that if a disqualification came from it, you wouldn't be too surprised. So keep an eye on that as well. In P2 is Max Verstappen back on the front row for the first time since Austin. But the man on pole position is Lando Norris, and it was a huge lap from Lando Norris. He set really good lap times all through Q3. His lap time before this did take provisional pole. Max took it off him. And then he was setting this lap time, and I think in his first 2 sectors alone, he was nearly a second up on Max Verstappen. He has a huge moment coming out of turn 14, and I thought that would be it for him. But the pace that he'd put down in the first 2 sectors was enough to carry him through. He takes pole position by 0.3 of a second, his 3rd pole position in a row, the first driver to do that this season, his 7th pole position this year, which puts him equal top now with Max Verstappen. A fantastic pole lap, really, really good from Lando Norris to give him pole position for tomorrow's race, and an all-important race where if he beats Verstappen by 10 points, the championship goes down to just 2 drivers. So tomorrow, if Lando was to win and Max was 3rd or lower, Max is out of the championship. So huge implications tomorrow for our title, and you got to be sure that Max is going to be trying to beat Norris off the line, really, to try and get in front of him on the front row and try and run the race from there, because Verstappen has had some great pace as well. I just think with the way everything fell in that final Q3, it's very hard to judge. It's the kind of thing of whoever crosses the line last is going to have that best track condition, and that was kind of the way it fell for Lando in a way. But with Max, I think it was just timing was a little bit off, because it felt like Max set his lap time and then there was quite a wait for everyone else. So who knows, if they timed it a bit better, could he have been on the front row? Personally, could he have been on pole? I don't think he had the pace of Lando, especially if Lando had completed that lap without the incident. He may have been even like a second ahead of everyone else. That's just how quick he was on that last lap. But of course, we go into tomorrow. I imagine it'll be dry tomorrow, and that could change everything again. So we shall wait and see how it goes down in Las Vegas. Like I said at the start of this video, I think Las Vegas always delivers. So far, it has delivered an absolute banger of a qualifying session. We shall see if that turns into a banger of a race tomorrow, and I shall be here to discuss all of it with you in the bright, early hours of the morning tomorrow. Until then, though, have a good one. I'll see you later. Goodbye.